Okay, so you have your list of 3 people that are on your team, but you're looking to expand it and you want to expand it in a way that will add more people to your squad who are relevant to the industry you're trying to work in. My strong belief, and I have a couple of years of experience to back this up, is that LinkedIn is the easiest and most effective way to do that.
If you're watching this, chances are good you want to get a job. You want to go from student to rising star, and you want to avoid eating the same meal over and over and over again. Good news, you're in the right place. That's right, LinkedIn. It's not just for top executives. It's not just for old people with heavy briefcases. It's for you, and it's the perfect place for you to start your professional story. Say you want to get a job in New York City. You've never been there before, but that's okay because you have LinkedIn on your side. You start by creating your profile. You give it love because you know it's what recruiters are looking for day and night. It's your resume that never sleeps. It's your flashing neon sign that says, hire me, for the love of all that is good in this world, hire me. Then you start making connections. Alumni working in New York? Yes. Recruiters at top companies in New York? Yes. Your mom's best friend? Yes. You start imagining whose shoes you want to walk in. You think, wow, this is a lot of deep stuff to consider. You shake yourself out of it and start searching for jobs. Whoa, that's a lot of jobs for students. Time to get down to business. You start to tailor your profile. You start applying. You feel empowered, in control, like you should be CEO. That gives you an idea. You look up all the CEOs of all the companies you want to work at. You see one of them went to your university. Then it hits you. You see a clear path from campus to career. You feel like you can see the future. You wonder if you're psychic. Should you start a hotline? No, back to plan A. You keep tailoring and connecting and applying, and before you know it, you start getting responses. First a few, then more, then an interview, and then you're hired. And that's when the real learning begins.
Now, obviously, that's an advertisement for LinkedIn, right? So we want to be skeptical about any persuasive messages that are trying to tell us that LinkedIn is the solution to all of our problems. But I can tell you that I have seen illustrations in my work with students here at WVU of all of those factors bear out through some good use of LinkedIn. Now, I understand that it may be an intimidating site to use if you've never used it. It truly is as easy to use as any other social networking site, but you do want to be cautious about the way that you use it. And there are some important features that I want to kind of walk you through. So this is my LinkedIn profile. And just like any other social media feed, it'll include a little profile picture of you. And then in the center column, a news feed. Now, I'll admit that I read a lot of the posts that my fellow LinkedIn users post, but I don't spend a ton of time posting new content to it. You certainly can, and that's a great way to elevate your profile on LinkedIn, but I spend a lot of time looking for people that work at the companies that our students are interested in working for. And I want to show you by sharing my screen how I do that. So we'll do a couple of test searches. First, let's look for a person, and ESPN is often one of those companies that I hear students mention a lot that they're interested in. So we'll put ESPN in the search bar and hit the button. Okay, so the first result that comes back is a LinkedIn page for ESPN, the company, which includes all the stuff that they've posted recently and news about ESPN. So that is just like you would find on a company's Facebook or Instagram profile. But what I think is much more interesting is clicking the button that says people. And this is going to give us a result of 11,000 plus people who have worked at ESPN or have some connection to the company. I'm going to back out and we're going to do the search again in a little bit of a different way. We're going to search ESPN and people on this panel. So the site will immediately tell you if you have a connection with a person and kind of what degree that connection is. You know, it's like the whole 6 degrees of separation thing. For example, here we have Brittany Kelly, who is a senior recruiter at ESPN. So this is a person whose job it is to hire people. I have a 2nd degree connection with her, which means that she and I know people that are in common. But if we roll down to Joel Banks, who is the director of director and the in charge of production operations at ESPN in the greater New York area. This is somebody I know. I used to work with Joel. So he's a more direct connection to what's going on at ESPN. And I use that connection all the time. I don't have to use LinkedIn to remind me about Joel, but sometimes it's helpful to get a reminder that, hey, you have a first degree connection with a person that works there. And so we can do that with lots and lots of people. Like, let's see. Oh, okay. Isaac Farabee, first degree connection, content associate at ESPN. We see a picture of Isaac from his work at WVU News. We see that he's currently a content associate with ESPN, and he's been there for a year and 10 months, and he went to WVU studying broadcast journalism. So there's your 1 degree connection, right? You're a student at WVU. Isaac was a student at WVU. If we establish a professional connection with him through LinkedIn, then your approach to ESPN has become that much closer. So that's one way to use companies and people. We used Charlotte, North Carolina last time. Let's see if it works. Advertising. Let's see what that calls up for us. Okay, so you can also, like I said, you can click people, but you can also click this tab that says jobs. And it's going to, just like that Google search did, kick back for us a whole lot of jobs that are located in Charlotte, North Carolina, that have the word advertising somewhere in them. It's not always going to lead you to your dream job, but it's another great place to work. And what's really cool about that is when you get the list of jobs, you'll also get a couple of notifications. For example, bilingual leasing specialist. It will say here, if you look very closely, it says your profile matches this job. So it's letting me know that, yeah, you might be a good candidate for this. If we go down to this one, Strategic Partnership Development Manager of Telecom, one WVU alumnus works here. So it starts to tell you not only if you are a good match for the job, but if you know people that are connected with the company, or people that went to school with you or are part of the same organization or worked at the same place you did at some point, also has a connection with it. All right, one last one. Let's try esports, because I know that is kind of an emerging industry that there's a lot of interest in. And let's scroll down. I may have to cheat this one a little bit. Here's what we'll do. Trust me, this does work, but I'm gonna cheat it a little bit to speed things along here. Oops. I'm spelling his name incorrectly. Sorry, give me a second. There he is. So Dominic Schroeder, also a WVU College of Media grad, is currently working in the esports industry as the operations manager at Game Gym Esports in the Washington, D.C. area. So what we've done here is we found jobs, we've searched by industry, we've looked at people, and we've also found connections pretty simply just through using the search function on LinkedIn. It's really important that when you're connecting with somebody like this, so say for example, you wanted to reach out and talk to Dominic about working in esports, or talk to Isaac about working at ESPN, that you are professional in the way that you connect with them. And what does that mean, right? This is going to be different than the way that you request a connection with somebody or you follow them on Twitter or Insta or on Facebook. And you also really want to be clear that you know what it is you're asking for. And you want to be really specific. It may just be that you want to connect with them, or you want to talk about old times at WVU, that's fine. But probably you're asking them for information about how to get hired at their company. Approaching a stranger online, unless you know Dominic and Isaac, I can attest, they're both great people, but again, you don't know them probably. If you're approaching a stranger online to make a connection, it can be intimidating. And so asking them for something vague like help finding a job or feedback is not necessarily going to work. So what do you say? That's what we're going to talk about next. This comes from an article by a blogger named Larry Kim. I don't know Larry, but I really did like his kind of 5-point plan for writing the perfect LinkedIn connection. And that was to I identify these 5 Ps. Be polite, make sure it's pertinent, make it personalized, professional, and praiseful. Okay, and we'll talk about I think each of those means. Polite, number one. Think about it this way. When you meet somebody for the first time, if they're pushy or overbearing, or they act like they already are your best friend, it could be annoying and it might leave you with a bad impression. So again, approach this by being as polite as possible. Pertinent just means relevance. You want your LinkedIn request to have a purpose behind it. Connecting just for the sake of connecting is not necessarily the best use of your time. You can have thousands of LinkedIn connections, but if there's not a relationship at the core of that, it's not doing anything good for you. So before you before you connect with somebody, take a couple of minutes to think about why it is you're doing it and be able to articulate that in the connection request. It could be that you're looking for feedback on your resume, insight into the culture of the company they're working at, or more information about trends in the industry. A general request for advice is a lot less specific and requires the person you're asking to respond with questions like, sure, what do you want to know? Cut out this middle step and tell them exactly what it is you want to know. Eliminate that kind of middle step and make sure that your message has a point. I skipped a slide there, forgive me. Make sure that your request is personalized. Like I've shown you, LinkedIn is a way to connect with people. And it does allow you to send a pretty boring standard connection request to them that reads, I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. And that's sort of the automatic message that it sends. However, the research bears out that if you send a personalized request to them that is pertinent and polite, the chances that you're going to get a connection out of it that will bear fruit is a lot more useful. So if I give a generic request like this, I'll probably accept it, but I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. But if it starts with something like, hello, Eric, I'm looking for some insight on how you made the transition from working in journalism to education, I'm going to more likely open it because I know exactly what the person wants from me, right? So I'm going to be much more kind of prepared to answer that request with useful information. It needs to be professional, and this is always sort of tricky to define. Professional, while LinkedIn is a social media platform, it's not about making friends in the traditional social media sense. So if this is somebody that you don't know, you don't want to start it with, hey, or want to connect, but you might want to start with, hello, Mr., Ms., Doctor, or just their name. If you're not sure how to address the person, always err on the side of being as mature and respectful as possible. If the tone of their reply is more casual, then maybe the conversation will move into a more casual territory, and that's fine. What do I mean by being professional? You want to have a professional demeanor. You don't want to be talking in that sort of friendly, like, hey, how's it going kind of way, unless it's somebody that you already know. You want to show competence, and that means you want to show that you are serious about this profession. And so you want to be able to speak their language if you can. You don't want to use fake jargon or try to make yourself sound smarter than you are, but you want to exude competence, that you know what you're talking about. Other aspects of professionalism are ethics. You want to, potentially demonstrate that you are serious about this profession to the point at which you know what's right and what's wrong in the profession. You want to show poise. You want to be, again, not uptight, but not so relaxed that maybe you're making a bad first impression. That also falls under the heading of etiquette. That's where the hello, Mr., Ms., Doctor, addressing them by their title, or just being, again, polite and formal at this stage. It's okay to be a little more formal than you would if you were connecting with somebody that you just wanted to be friends with. And this is about respecting the fact that they have the information, or they're the gatekeepers to what it is you want to know. So it never hurts to be formal as a way of showing respect. And the last one is being praiseful. This isn't about, schmoozing again, and it's not about kissing up to somebody. But it never hurts to tell them why you view them as a worthy connection. If they've recently gotten a promotion, and LinkedIn will tell you that as well, or if they've recently gotten a new job, congratulate them on it. So, Eric, show me what this looks like in practice. So imagine you've just met someone who could really help jumpstart your career, or really open some doors for you. it's helpful to try a specific person. And if it helps you for the sake of this exercise, jump onto LinkedIn. You don't have to have a profile to search it, and just find somebody. It could be the CEO of a company, a broadcaster you admire, or even a hypothetical person who just kind of does the work you want to do. And here's my example. I found a woman named Stephanie who works in NASCAR, and I took the position. I didn't actually send this, so I wasn't misleading her, but this shows you kind of what the connection request looks like. Hello, Stephanie. So it's a nice formal and polite introduction. I'm a student at the WVU College of Media working toward a career in motorsports. So you're telling them exactly why it is that there's a connection between the two of you. My favorite professor, Dr. Opp, told me you were the college's most valuable contact at NASCAR. Praiseful, right? It's showing them why you view them as an expert. Could you help me by reviewing my resume before I apply for an internship? You're asking them again for something specific, so there's pertinence to this. And thank you. You're wrapping it up with politeness. That's a lot, getting a lot accomplished in 300 characters. So using those 5 Ps, think about how you might write something like this to approach a person on LinkedIn. And I'll be right back after this.